Today we are here at 19 Degree North. It's an adventure park. It's an adventure park for motorcycles and 4x4s. And we are here for a special brand that's recently been launched in India with not just one or two but three new bikes. So let me introduce you to the brand. It is Yezdi, Yezdi Forever. Their first motorcycle, the Yezdi Adventure. This is an insane looking adventure motorcycle. Lot of kids are on that already, and this is the new Scrambler. Again, this is a totally different market altogether, something that Yezdi is getting into. It will be interesting. Let's ride that too. And we have the Yezdi Roadster. Again, this is a completely new bike. Everything is different on all the motorcycles. Mechanicals, there are a lot of changes, a lot of interesting stuff, and for the first time we'll be reviewing three bikes in one single day. Welcome to Flywheel. I'm Srigan. So first we have the Yezdi Roadster. Again, this styling might be similar because it's based on that retro theme of this particular bike. It looks great, has a lot of chrome elements, a lot of colors and everything. But first, let's get to the main part, the major differences between the three bikes. So if you see here, this comes with a double cradle chassis, and all the three bikes have different rake angles, the length of the swing arm, meaning the wheelbase is completely different, and the seat height is also completely different based on the style of the bike. So first, the engine. The engine is the same as the Java Perak, different state of tunes for different engines for the different riding styles. You might find similarities in the engine and this part of the bike because it is very similar to the Java, but everything else is different. You have a different tank, then you have a different seat. The whole bike looks something new. From far away it might look a bit, it might resemble a bit to another bike which I don't want to mention, but overall this is a completely different bike. The reason is this is quite compact and it's easy to ride. It's quite fun to ride, I would say. It's more brutish in terms of the power delivery. So we'll get into all the details on the ride. Before that, like I said, the major differences. Now let's go to the styling. Coming to the front, we have 18-inch MRF rubber on 18-inch alloys. The only bike that comes with the alloys. The other ones have spoke wheels because the purpose of those bikes are different. You get a headlight guard, in a black finish. You have these covers on the forks that makes it look a bit more retro. Then another important point is now the radiator flow is different. Earlier the flow of the fluids were from top to bottom. Now it's right to left when you stand in front of the bike. So basically from the left of the bike to the right. So they say this has got better cooling right now. And then you can see the tank, it's sculpted a bit on the side to give you that, tuck-in feel, and there's a rubber padding on that which makes it better so that you don't scratch it. Then you have these mirrors. I guess these are aftermarket, probably. A lot of accessories with the bike are available, so you can check that all out on their website. Coming back to the seats, this is the lowest riding height. This is 790 mm. Then you have a Scrambler that is 10 mm more, and then the SD, and it has a backrest too, so comfortable riding position. Now this again, the Java, the Yezdi engine comes with dual exhaust that adds a lot of feel to the bike. Here you get a complete blacked out treatment in terms of colors. There are about 8 colors if I'm not wrong, and overall this bike is compact than it looks. Another couple of things, the placement of the key is different. It's not on the top of the handlebar right next to it. It is placed at the bottom, so that's a nice touch. Again, coming down to the ground clearance, this has the lowest ground clearance of 175 mm. The swing arm, the wheelbase is also in the mid range between the three bikes, and it gets a R17 again alloys with MRF rubber. So coming back to the design of this part, so you have a nice nostalgia with this particular 3D emblem. That's nice, and the flow of the mudguard is nice too. The tail lamp, as you can see, is a very small unit with 2 indicators on the side. This kind of gives a clean end to the bike. So apart from that, This also gets dual channel ABS, and it is switchable, not particularly on this bike, but on the Adventure and the Scrambler you can switch the mode of ABS. Now let's go quickly ride and find out how the bike is.
So coming to the ride of this particular motorcycle, to start off, there are a lot of updates on the engine that is there, which are in the crank, the valve train, the heads, the crankcase, the slipper clutch that's come in, the improved gear train with lower NVH levels and focus on durability. There's a cross flow radiator which I was talking about, and there's a new 38mm throttle body. So what this translates to on the road is the engine is much better than the previous generation of the engines. This particular bike is tuned for 29.7 PS and 29 Newton meters of torque. This again is a 334cc engine, you all know that. Coming to the torque and power figures of this particular bike and the way that it's been put or tuned, the power output and delivery is much more at around 6000 RPM. That's the peak, and the flow is gradual and it gets there to the top of it. So when you're riding, initially you have a nice gurgly, peppy feel to it, and it just pushes through and gradually it keeps getting better. But the sweet spot is around 4.5 to 5000 RPM. And the vibrations on this bike are very minimal, but it definitely is there when you're pushing the bike too hard at heavy RPMs. We couldn't ride it extensively on the highway to test out all the fuel efficiency figures or the highway rideability in a long sense, which I mean. So what we've tested is a short run and definitely feels like a good bike to get into corners, to lean into them, have fun in the twisties. At the same time, brakes are spot on, very good. Coming to the suspension, the rear suspension is adjustable and for rebound, and there was a bit of squeaky noise in the bike that I was particularly riding, but apart from that, there are not many complaints. So overall, a great cruiser, a fun to ride motorcycle that is compact. And the prices of this particular bike, it starts off at 1,98,000. There are about 5 colors and it differs with the colors, and there are a lot of accessories you can buy on. So this is all about the Roadster. Let's go check out the Scrambler now.
Now we have the Scrambler. Again, like I told you, very similar setup, but it's completely different. The engine is same, but the way this bike rides, the dynamics is completely different. Same engine, different state of tune, 29 PS and 29 Newton meters of torque. Very similar to the Roadster, but the torque curve is different. It's much higher from the initial, so the torque level is better for you to take trails. So basically this bike can do a lot. It can be your daily rider, it can be your bike that you take off-road once in a while and have a lot of fun. Again, the brutish power, the delivery, everything. Let's get into that while I take on the trail at this special place. Let's start off with the design. Coming to the front part, it gets the long travel suspension, a 28-degree rake angle, and you'll see the double mudguards. You have the mudguard that's right on the tire and a floating mudguard that looks and gives you that more off-road look. To protect the headlight on trails, you have a complete grille on that, and the same setup of instrument cluster comes on this too, but it is a different location. It's on the side, so you can have your phone or anything on the side. Coming to the handlebars, you have the knuckle protector for trails again, and you have a USB charger here too. So it has a normal USB and a C-type USB port. With this, you have the different ABS modes. You can turn it to road, rain or off-road. Right now, it will be on off-road when I ride the trail, but every time you turn off the bike and turn it on, it goes back to road mode so that you're safe while riding on the road. The riding position is completely different. It's more upright. You can stand and ride, and you have the handlebar at a raised position, so that gives a very nice feel to it. Now again, the dual exhaust. This one is finished in a brushed aluminium kind of finish. After the black portion, it comes out like this. It sounds really nice too, so I'll show you that. Has again long travel suspension at the rear, and as you can see, it's a single seat that goes up all the way. Actually, this looks uncomfortable when you're seeing it, but we had two riders on the bike and it feels good, and you have a lot of grip all around the bike to hold on to when you're riding. Coming to the rear portion of the bike, the swing arm is the shortest. This is a 1400 mm wheelbase. You get a nice nimble bike on the trails. Now, this is the difference in the bike. Very similar tank setup like the Roadster. Has all the branding, the Scrambler. It still has that nice knobby foot pegs and this part, and you can take these off to give you better riding when you're doing it on the trails with your boots on. So overall, this bike looks really fresh. Now getting to the wheels, this comes in a totally different setup. You don't have the alloys, you have spoked wheels, because off-road it is much better with spoke wheels. You don't break the wheel and there's a bad crash or something like that. So in the front you have 19-inch wheels for better control in the off-road situations, and coming to the back you have a wide section 17-inch wheels, which makes a lot of sense for this particular bike. Coming to the rear end of the design, like I said, this goes high because the travel of the suspension is much more, so that it doesn't bottom out. You have different looking tail lamps and indicators, and you have a floating mudguard at the rear. Overall, like I said, this is a fresh, different looking bike, and I actually am liking it. Now let's go to the trails with this GoPro and find out how it is.
The most interesting bike of the three is definitely the Scrambler. Now this is a very different approach. There are Scramblers that are much more expensive. They're Scramblers just for the sake of the name of it, but this is a true Scrambler in its DNA. So you have a flatter torque curve, a shorter swing arm, a high riding position with long travel suspension, good tires, bigger wheel sizes. So all of this put together is a recipe for fun. This again comes with a 334cc engine, but it's tuned differently with a 29.10 PS of power and 28.20 Newton meters of peak torque. Now, coming to the highway rideability or the road rideability, we haven't tested it out extensively. We'll be doing it soon. But what we have done is tested extensively on off-road trails. So this is a great bike. The flat torque curve definitely helps. The engine is much peppier at the lower range, and it just keeps and pulls through. You just need a bit of gear change and a play of clutch, but that is okay. And since this has a flatter torque curve, it's easier to manage off the road. In the braking department, it's very well set up. You have three different dual channel ABS setups. One is the road, one is the rain, and the other one is off-road, where it's not too intrusive, but it does its job. The suspension is really good. The long travel really helps. Even with two people on board, we experienced it on the trails and it did a great job. So overall, this looks like a very good product for me. Now coming to the pricing and the variants that are available, there are basically two types, the single tone and the dual tone. Totally comes with 6 colors. The pricing starts from 2,05,000 rupees ex-showroom.
So right now, at this beautiful place in a complete off-road environment, I had a blast riding one special bike of the entire lineup, and this is the Yezdi Adventure. Now, how is this bike to ride off-road? I can tell you. First, let's begin with the design aspect of it. Agreed, it is quite similar to another bike that's available in the market right now. But all that aside, let's look into the design. Has double mudguards, one here, one floating, complete guard for the headlight, because this is a complete adventure bike and it needs it. Has a huge visor that will give you some good touring advantage here. And the newest part, the new addition, something that is interesting, is the movable instrument console. So when you're doing off-road, there are times when you need to actually have the instrument cluster at an angle where you can see it. So it's usually facing you. When you're standing up and riding, you can tilt it so that it's upwards and you can still see the speedo and stuff. So again, this is kind of an exoskeleton that is there. It has a double cradle chassis which the engine rests, but the tune on this is different. It has 30 PS and 29 Newton meter torque. So basically very similar double cradle and the engine, but all the other things are different. This gets a monoshock that you can see here. This is a new placement. It's the first time that I'm seeing something that is placed in such a way, but that doesn't hinder the 200 mm of ground clearance that this bike has. So that is a nice advantage, and you definitely have all the off-road accessories. You can mount the jerry cans, you'll have the luggage rack here where you can mount utility boxes. So all that in its place. This has a long travel suspension on the front and the rear. Comes with a 21 inch wheels in the front. Again, it's poked for better off-roadability and better control. At the rear, it gets a 17 inch wheels, again with MRF rubber. This is a wider section tire, so it is 130/80. Knobby tires, it gets good grip, especially on places like this where there's a lot of gravel and you need to have proper control of the bike. So this is the Yezdi. Again, if you would have seen the Roadster and the Scrambler part of it, the tank is completely different. Also has some guard on top. It has knuckle guards, all of the setup. Now that we're talking about the exoskeleton of the bike, the reason I mentioned this is you have all the protectors here. There's an engine protector, you're protecting the silencer and all of that, and on the side as well you have all of this. So the reason that I'm mentioning this is when I was going through the riverbed, I had a small crash. You can say crash or a fall, because I was crossing a big rock that was right next to the river, and there was a crevice, like a pothole, where I couldn't reach my leg. So I had placed myself in the correct line, but at that point I couldn't place my leg because that was like a 2-3 feet drop, and I actually fell down. But the best part is you can see that there are scratches here, some scratches here, and scratches on the silencer, all of which can be easily replaced or repaired with minimal expenses. So that's the best part about these adventure bikes. They have all these which will make you safe, not have a injury, because this protected my wrist or my arm. And at the same time, riding gear is very important. I had knee guards, I have a proper jacket, helmet on, gloves on. So I didn't have a single scratch on my body, and the bike has a few scratches that can be repaired easily. So that's the best part about these adventure bikes. It's a very nice riding position. The track here at 19° north is amazing. It has all the terrains. There's gravel, there's mud, and there's 2 river beds which are currently dry. Otherwise in the monsoon I'm pretty sure it'll be full. So I went through that. All of that was fun. Had a great time. This bike is nice, but the torque delivery, you need to keep shifting gears a bit. So this I will talk about in the ride part of the video. Come, let's check it out.
And yes, finally the adventure. So we had a very rough, tough trail on the off-roads for testing this particular bike. There were all kinds of terrain, and this definitely did it with finesse. But it needs a lot of gear shifts because the torque curve is set differently and the power delivery is different. The low end torque that we were expecting on an adventure motorcycle was something that I found missing on this particular bike. We did need a few gear shifts, but it definitely breezes through all these obstacles and terrains. Now again, this is a 334cc engine with the highest power out of all the 3 bikes, 30.2 PS and 29.90 meters of torque. So basically you can say 30 and 30. Not bad, but the tuning could have been a bit better for low end torque, so that even in second or third it can pull through at very low speeds. I mean, it can crawl through and go through all the terrains. So this was something that we found missing, and it is very vital for an adventure bike. Yes, it can also do a lot of touring and it can be used in the city. Bike is a bit on the heavier side and the seat height is the highest at 820 mm, but still you can reach your legs if you're about 5'10" or 5'8" feet tall. So that put aside, the riding position is spot on. You can do a lot of touring, a lot of city rides with ease. The bike is quite controllable with the 21-inch wheels at the front, and that definitely helps. Like I said, the dual channel ABS on, like the Scrambler, you have the similar setup with the 3 different ride modes of rain, road and off-road. So that really helps too. And it's a great bike overall. We're not sure about the fuel efficiency because we didn't get to test it and we didn't have time for that. We will definitely do a touring and a road review very soon. Watch out for that. For now, let me just talk to you through the pricing and the variants. So this comes with just 2 color options. One is the matte, the other is the camo. So you have a total of 3 colors, and the pricing starts at 2,09,000 rupees ex showroom. So 2,10,000 ex showroom. And this is the only bike that gets turn by turn navigation. The other 2 bikes don't. So that's an added bonus on this particular bike.
So this was our review of all the 3 new Yezdis. If you like them, don't forget to subscribe to our channel because this is just the beginning. We've done the off-road review of the Scrambler and the Adventure. We're yet to take it on road and do an extensive road test. We've definitely ridden the Roadster on the road, that part is there, but don't miss out the road reviews of these bikes because off-road trails and tracks are only about 10% of what you do usually ride. So wait for those videos and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share it with all your friends. And here's Shigan signing off. Bye bye.